Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we unpack the confusing world of corporate finance and, sometimes you just want to know what a company is really up to without all the jargon, and we have a doozy of an update from Old National Bancorp today, strap in. So Old National Bancorp is essentially a bank holding company, meaning it owns banks, and this report is a current report that basically tells us what is new or noteworthy with the company, and it is a really fast way to get the most important updates. The earliest event reported here is the 7th of November 2025. So we are looking at very recent information that the company is sharing with everyone. Old National Bancorp. This is the company we're talking about, and they are based in Indiana and incorporated there. They've got a commission file number, which is like a reference number for the US Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, which is the government agency that oversees the stock market and makes sure companies are being transparent. They're located in Evansville, Indiana, and their principal executive officers are right there. Now this part is interesting because it lists the securities they have registered. They have common stock, which is what most people think of when they think of owning a piece of a company. This stock is traded on the NASDAQ stock market under the ticker symbol ONB. They also have preferred stock, and that is like a special type of stock that usually pays a fixed dividend. For Old National Bancorp, they have two series of preferred stock, Series A and Series C, and these are also traded on NASDAQ with their own ticker symbols on BPP and ONPO respectively. Think of these as different flavors of ownership with different rights and benefits. Alright, so this next section is really important because it tells us about how the company plans to communicate information. It says that their executive officers plan to use materials filed herewith in meetings with investors and analysts. What this means is they are sharing information, essentially a presentation with investors and analysts, and they've included it as an exhibit to this filing. They are saying though that this particular filing and the exhibit aren't officially going to be treated as if they were filed for purposes of regular SEC reporting, which is a way for them to share information without triggering the same level of regulatory scrutiny as a full-blown financial filing. It is like a heads up to investors about what the company is emphasizing. And here it is, Exhibit 99.1, the Old National Bancorp investment thesis. This is where the company lays out why they believe investing in them is a good idea. This is the meat of what they're telling the market right now. While the filing itself doesn't contain the detailed financial tables typically found in a 10Q or 10K, this investment thesis is essentially their pitch. It is their opportunity to highlight their strategic strengths and future outlook to those important investors and analysts. It is their curated story of why they are a good bet. Now, typically in these filings, especially when focusing on the financial side, we dive deep into tables showing revenue, profits, and cash flows. However, in this particular instance, the company is presenting an investment thesis, which is more of a strategic summary and forward-looking statement, rather than a detailed historical financial breakdown. It is Old National Bancorp's way of saying, here is why we win, and here is where we are going. This type of filing often comes when a company is preparing to engage more heavily with the investment community, perhaps for a roadshow or investor conferences. The investment thesis is designed to be persuasive. It is their best foot forward to explain their value proposition. So what does this mean for us as observers? Well, it means we need to look at this investment thesis as their narrative. We have to decipher if the story they are telling holds up against what we know about the banking industry and their competitors. Are they highlighting real strengths or just painting a rosy picture? Without the detailed numbers, this is largely about their messaging, their strategy, and their projected growth. We need to consider if their proposed strategy aligns with current economic conditions and what kind of risks they might be downplaying. And finally, the report is signed off by Nicholas J. Choulos, who holds a key position as Executive Vice President, Chief Legal Officer, and Corporate Secretary. This signature basically confirms that the company officially stands behind this filing. Now let's talk about the story here. Old National Bancorp is using this filing not to report past performance in detail, but to actively shape the narrative for potential investors. The investment thesis is their carefully crafted argument for why their stock is a buy. This implies they are focused on growth opportunities and perhaps aiming to attract new capital or boost investor confidence. What are the potential strengths they might be highlighting? Well, as a regional bank, Old National Bancorp likely benefits from strong local ties, customer loyalty, and a deep understanding of its markets. They might be emphasizing recent acquisitions, successful organic growth, or innovative digital banking services. They could also be discussing their capital strength and how well positioned they are to navigate any economic headwinds. On the other hand, what are the potential weaknesses or risks they might be downplaying? The banking sector is highly competitive and sensitive to interest rate changes and economic downturns. They might not be fully disclosing the challenges of integrating acquisitions, the impact of rising regulatory compliance costs, or the ongoing pressure from larger national banks and fintech competitors. Their thesis is by nature designed to be optimistic, so we need to be the decoder and look for what might be missing. My take on this filing is that it is more of a marketing document than a traditional financial deep dive. It signals that Old National Bancorp is actively projecting an image of strength and future potential to the investment community. The real test will be whether this investment thesis translates into tangible results that can be seen in their future earnings reports. They are laying out their roadmap and now they need to execute. We should keep an eye on their future 10Q and 10K filings to see if the promises made in their investment thesis are being fulfilled. So what is my assessment of Old National Bancorp's direction based on this? They appear to be in a proactive growth and investor relations mode. Strengths likely lie in their regional focus and strategic narrative. Weaknesses could involve the inherent cyclicality of banking and the execution risks of their growth plans. A notable opportunity might be their ability to capture market share through strategic initiatives discussed in their thesis. The most significant risk is that their optimistic outlook might not materialize in the face of broader economic uncertainties or competitive pressures. In conclusion, this filing is less about past performance and more about future aspirations. Old National Bancorp are telling their story aiming to convince investors of their long-term value. It will be fascinating to watch how this narrative unfolds in the coming quarters. Alright, that is our breakdown of Old National Bancorp's latest filing. What is your take on this investment thesis approach to corporate reporting? And what do you think signals for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.